we're going to go on to another stage, and it's a stage called pulling. It's the potter's term for it. It's the way that pots vertically grow. It's very exciting. It defies gravity, and it's done by pressure. Pressure from the inside hand, pressure from the outside hand. What I think about in that is that we too grow under pressure. And what I mean by that is, let's picture the idea that the hand that is on the inside, this hand here, that is pressing against the hand on the outside, this hand is representing the presence of God inside of us, the Spirit of God who now lives within us, the truths of God that are in our mind, the teachings of Jesus. This hand is representing the experiences that we have in our daily lives in the world, with other people, with situations, whatever. And how are we going to respond when we encounter someone who hurts us, who speaks wrongly of us, who lies to us, who perhaps steals from us? In Jesus' teaching on the Sermon on the Mount, he teaches a lot about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not an easy thing. In fact, there are many things, many principles in following Jesus that are not easy. And we can't do them alone. We really need the presence of God within us. Because if God was not inside, these pressures can destroy us. We can go through abusive situations, maybe divorce or loss of a business or home or whatever. And that pressure from the outside can be so huge that we or this pot can become destroyed. And then there are some of us who really wish the world would go away, that if it could just be me and Jesus. The reality is that we live in this world following Jesus and his principles, surrendering to him as our King, living in his kingdom. And we forgive our neighbor. I'm not necessarily saying to you that you need to surrender to physical abuse or things like that. I'm not saying that at all. But there are many things which we're called to do. We're called to trust that God so loves us that he's going to provide for us. We have a peace from within about that we can afford to be generous. Again, it's a pressure thing. There's so many realities of following Jesus that causes us to grow into really very beautiful people. Well, at this point, this pot could go, I think we're there. I think this is pretty good. I'm sort of a vase now. And then God comes along and says, no, I want you to go out and do this. I'm like, I don't know, God. This is nice. I like it this way. And he says, no, I have much bigger plans for you. The calling that I have for you, the vocation that I have for you is much larger. That's the exciting thing about allowing ourselves to be formed in the hands of a creating God. A God who has great desires for our lives. So I'm going to begin to stretch this pot out. Give it more form. And as I'm doing this stretching, many of us go through stretching experiences whenever there's a major transition in our life. That's a stretching experience. We don't really know what the outcome will be. If this pot could talk, it might be saying to me, Potter, the walls of this pot are getting rather thin. And I know that I could collapse. If you keep stretching me like this, I don't know if I can make it. And are you sure you know what you're doing? I don't know about you, but there have been times when I've questioned that with God. God, do you know this about me? I don't know if you've ever wrestled with God, but I never win. Even if I, in a sense, win by not going his way, I lose. But if I trust in him, that he really knows what's best, and I have faith that he can do things way beyond my self-image, I discover all new things. Just like this vessel is going to discover that it could be really robust and large, and someday filled with flowers, someday sitting in a prominent place in a house where everyone can say, "Oh, how beautiful that pot is." And there will be times in our life when it just seems like God is all over us. He's just bringing about so many wonderful changes, and it's very exciting. Some of us would call that revival, new life in a sense.